Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 378. I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, in beautiful Savage, Minnesota, joined by Charlie Carden.
Bearer of fingers. See, look, it's better now. Oh, no, oops. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that, should I? Hi, everybody. How's it going on this beautiful Saturday in East Grand Rapids, Michigan? Boom, bang, pow.
Yeah, it's Memorial Day weekend, and we are ready to get fun. This is, I think, the sequel to Victoria Day. So, and in honoring Victoria Day, we bring in someone who has not been on the podcast in over 200 episodes, crazy as it is, Mr. Sean Capri from Carpool Gaming. How are you, Sean?
Todd, some people said you would never make it another 200 episodes, but here we are.
And let me guess what
episodes.
That was you, wasn't it? You son of a bitch! You
I'm
were
not
trying to
saying
take us
who
down this
did.
whole time.
Some people
Damn
said it was in the ether. I don't know, but here you are. You are unstoppable. If you and wise man once said, if you get past episode 10, you go on forever. So I guess that you guys
wow, that's a very, very low bar. Very low bar.
Yeah, he was
Well, and sometimes you just keep rebooting and you start over again and over again, and you add them all up. Yeah, you add them all up like Marvel does and get their like legacy numbering. So
it counts.
Between all of your podcasts, you have like 3 million episodes.
Oh my God, I love it! I love it. We should Todd. You know what we could start doing if we want to get closer to 1,000 is start adding all of our network episodes together. We might get closer. We might get closer to 500.
It's a dangerous game to do that, though, because as soon as you do, you start to realize maybe I should be better at this by now.
Right. Oh my God.
There's a lot of hours at this. We're supposed to be experts by now.
Well, if you look, if you do our network feed, if you put all those episodes in, that could be. But yeah, you're right. You look back at some of the past, regular hosts and co-hosts we've had that haven't been so great. No names being named. I would prefer that.
They're all
great. Stays out of it.
They're all great. And we've never had technical issues.
Right.
And they've never gone over 3 hours.
Never. I don't allow it. I am Johnny Stopwatch. But speaking of things that break records and are exceptional, the cover this week. Now, Todd, it's the Incredible Hulk, number 378 from the end of 1991. Now, is this during your beloved Peter David run still? That was a long run,
This was Peter David, right in the heart of that. We had the great Hulk, Mr. Fix-It. I believe Dale Keown was illustrating as well. And we found at this time, apparently, that Hulk's greatest enemy was Santa Claus.
Well, and you can really an Aerosat Santa Claus again, because not only does he have a crowbar, but the crowbar has a price tag on it, which doubles as obviously where Dale Keown signed his name. So he stole the crowbar. Or he was just got it as a gift, and whoever gave it to him was very tacky. This is my mother.
Well, it was a gift for Hulk when he hit him. Here's a gift for you.
Yeah, you don't give a
Merry
gift
Christmas.
with a price tag on it. That's what Mom taught me. So this Santa it's a very low class scenario. So I'm not impressed, but I am curious to see where this goes. So this might be something that if we can fix the numbers, we work into our time craptual when we read old episodes or old issues that we featured covers of. So because I'm curious, but morbidly so.
Yeah. So Sean, if you looked at this comic, would a young Sean Capri, who in 1991, I have no clue how old you would have been.
I'd have been seven.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would this have jumped off the shelf and said, "I want to read Hulk beating up Santa"?
Oh man, I don't know. This looks like it's not supposed to exist. It looks like a bit of a, I don't know, it's something at the dollar store. It's something that really isn't quite right. It looks like something that would be packed in a box of Cheerios or something. Like it looks like an extra. It doesn't look like something in a mainline anything. But so no,
You're
I don't think
besmirching my beautiful Cheerios, my company's.
Or Shreddies. How about Shreddies? Should I put Shreddies? How about that?
Shreddies. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable.
We didn't have sugar cereal when I was growing up. We were just we dumped brown sugar on top, and
that was different. That's different.
That's how it wasn't a nutritional choice by my parents. It was a cost choice. You buy the brown sugar separately in bulk at Costco, and then you get real cheap Cheerios and Shreddies. And my brother would just go like teaspoons, tablespoons, just like, and it would layer at the bottom. You'd chew it up afterwards. It's just like diabetes in a bowl. But anyways,
diabetes to please all stripes. It's delightful.
You made Wilford Brimley proud.
Yeah. He was warning us. He was trying to warn us.
Exactly.
Like, what was that, Wilfred?
Yeah. Oh, my heart! Stop it!
I'll
Oh,
worry
God.
about that when I'm 65.
Exactly. We're still waiting.
If I get there. Oh my God. Well, this has been a joy. Diabetes and the Hulk. But moving along, I think it's time to get on down to the corner of Hollywood and Vine. We've got to talk to our senior news correspondent, the oldest and sharpest and scariest lady in the business. That would be Madam Webb. So without further delay, Madam Webb, take it away.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Well, I know you were off celebrating Star Wars celebrations in beautiful California. You dressed up as Mon Mothma, but unfortunately you forgot to come clothed. So you were taken out. You wore a mask, but you didn't come clothed. So you know what, Madam Webb? Read the room, read the guidelines, stay clothed.
Genevieve O'Reilly would be highly disappointed or flattered. I'm not sure. We've never met. So,
well, so Star Wars celebrations, Charlie, you and I just talked about this on the last episode, a couple of news pieces. But before we really get into it, Sean, what's your take on all the news with Star Wars celebrations? I mean, we got mostly TV news, and there was actually a story we won't talk about. Which basically, there's a new Star Wars shows for kids, and it's all about the Jedi adventures. So I think for you and people with young kids, that's exciting. So what'd you think of all the Star Wars celebrations news?
I don't know if it's a hipster take on any of this stuff or what, but like I kind of need to like take it at my own pace. And for whatever reason, and because E3 is coming up for video games, and that's where I'm going to like sit in front of a screen and be marketed to, and I'm going to get excited about all that stuff. When it comes to like TV and movies, I kind of go like, I have a bit of my walls are up, and maybe I've been hurt before. I'm not entirely sure what it is. Maybe it's an overwhelming amount of content, which doesn't really add up because video games are way longer. I should be able to binge through all this stuff, no problem. But I need to like step in at my own pace. Obi-Wan is a really good example of this. I just watched the first episode that I'm sure we'll get into. But like I made the choice by myself. I didn't just like watch it because it was coming out. I genuinely love Ewan McGregor, and I cannot wait to see where this story goes. And already I'm very pleased with it. But I don't know. I need to take it as it comes out, I think. So I'm glad to see Star Wars continues to go on, but that was always going to be the case. So there's nothing really new there. And then there's a new video game coming out, and it's coming out in 2023, and Joseph Moran can suck it because it impacts his fantasy league in a big way. And I was right again. That's what I got to say about
Charlie,
that.
they do a unique thing where it's been really fun, basically trying to guess what games will come out, and then they get points if they pick those, and if they get a critic score, they get points, and then you can do some counter programming, say, I don't think that's coming out, and then you can derail them. Well, this game, Joe Moran, Joe's been on our podcast before. Yeah. He picked that this game was coming out in 2022. Is not, so he's basically missing points now. So I love the game.
I think we could start doing that with Star Wars movies, except for being very short.
That's what I want to do. I am in. If you guys do a movie thing for that, I am totally in. Based it on like Sean, Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. Oh my God, I am in.
Oh,
Sean, we do a movie wager. Every summer where we have to pick the like who's going to score the most money. Oh yeah, and that's the trophy for winning.
Get out,
Prince
really?
Caesar.
That's awesome.
It travels.
The game's been going on since 2016. The only place it hasn't traveled is Savage, Minnesota.
So we will open that up again next year. So
That's
we'll open
awesome.
it up. We'll have a SFU movie wager league. It's so much fun because everybody ends up being probably wrong. And one of those movies we're going to talk about, which is probably going to derail everybody's numbers, is Top Gun. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
All right.
So yeah, this trailer drop.
Back on track.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2 Survivor is coming out in 2023. We don't really have a specific date, but this is a favorite of Mark Carabin, my co-host, your co-host, Charlie, and he loves it so much. Cal Kestis has become this big, just awesome character that people just glom onto and love. And this is a bright spot as part of the EA games that they've actually developed and released. and I can't think of anybody that didn't like this game.
I love Cameron Monaghan because again Irish represent and loved him in Shameless, but I love the character again. My involvement with video games, and Sean, I'm sure you remember, my only love for video games has to do with the Lego games, which my wife and I are really mired in playing Lego Star Wars right now. And
Yep,
oh my
I just
God,
got from the library.
we're just really digging on it. But Cameron Monaghan, the character of Cal Kestis, is such a photocopy of the actor, and it's done so well. I love that cutscene movie, and even who's that? The actress who played the Black Jedi, the female. Deborah,
she was in Mad TV. Yeah,
Deborah something. Well, that was a pretty good cut of her as well. And even the droid really looked like the droid, and the alien guy looked like the real alien guy. No, I'm just kidding. But
all these names, Charlie, are so specific.
I know.
Alien guy, droid guy.
Yep, droid guy, alien guy, the other alien guy. But yeah, Cal Kestis, what a guy. I have a figure. There's been 2 figures of him, and I have the second one that came out because I missed the first one. And the second one is like he's wearing like his overalls and stuff. He doesn't have that cool thing, but there'll probably be a third one. Figures keep sucking me back in. I can't ever get away from it. I'm trying. Anyway.
So yeah, this game is going to be on next gen, or call it new gen hardware and PC. So it should be fantastic with new capabilities, which will be awesome. So Charlie, you're going to have to just watch the videos unless you get a new console. I don't think you're going to do that.
I will, and yeah, me getting a new console would be this one. Do consoles usually die? Do they have shelf life?
They can. Disk drives.
They disintegrate.
Yeah.
They turn into dust.
They do a Thanos.
Yeah, basically.
Once the cockroaches start coming out of it,
yeah, right.
replace it. Yeah.
Yeah, it would take something for me, or it would have to be a Lego game I can't play on this one, and then I'll get a new one. So yeah,
that's true.
But I mean, I'm sure that's
systems.
I'm sure that's a ways down the road. So
yeah,
but who knows?
So Sean, anything else to say on this game?
Only that, and without spoiling anything, the way that the first game ends, that's probably the thing that I'm most excited to see. Like, where does this game go? Because the ending for the first game is spectacular, and it's worth the entire journey. Sure. Not that it's a slog at all. So I'm excited about that, and also the droid, more BD1, please. Like, that's, we talk about the main character, but really this game did a wonderful job for the universe in introducing us to another lovable droid. So more of that,
and
please.
They announced, and that was part of the celebration announcement. They did announce there's a big Lego droid version
awesome.
of it. That's like $100. It's about, I think it's like real size. So it's actually like real size, which is great. And I did want to say this game has like a 5-year time jump. So they do show him kind of by himself, and his lightsaber is gone. So that's going to be really cool. And I'm hopeful that Cal will eventually be introduced into the live action.
I feel like it's inevitable.
That'd be amazing.
Because, I think it's inevitable because, again, the time frame of him falls within, or even animated, he falls within the Bad Batch, Obi-Wan, Andor space where they could find a way to make it happen. So fingers crossed. One of those three, or flashback somewhere, this and that. Who knows?
Yeah,
but it'd be great.
So the next story is, like I said, there really wasn't a lot more news after the first day, but then we got this really cool interview from Games Radar with Kathleen Kennedy, which really goes into a lot more details about the things that were not talked about at celebrations when she was on stage. So one of the first things she talked about is the fact that we now know that Taika Waititi's movie is going to be next, and it's going to be actually late 2023.
Wow.
So which means I was surprised there was no like cast reveals, no titles, or anything.
Yeah, because whatever it is, as I said, they're deep into production. If not, I feel like, we couldn't get organized, but it's like 3 weeks from now we'll get an announcement. It's like, come on, you guys. Yeah, but something with this has to be happening like now if it's actually going to come out. Remember, what a dynasty Star Wars was. Starting with. The Force Awakens of a Christmas movie franchise. It's like, a couple Christmases in a row, three Christmases in a row, we got a Star Wars movie, and it was an event. So that would be my guess. But do we get glimpses from that? What it's going to be? It's the question.
No. Well, she did make a note to say that really, I think she's really pushing this to say that the movies really will be where they push the stories forward, explore areas that we haven't got before. The TV shows will be the building within those eras, which is perfectly fine. And she's talking about moving on to a new post Skywalker saga, to a new saga, which I think is
goodness
essential to keep a franchise alive and healthy and bring in new fans that probably could care less maybe about the prequels or the sequels.
To find something to bring all of the fans together will never exist. It's the same thing with Star Trek.
That's right.
Look at Star Trek being, it's been around for, over 50 years. There have been now 10 different series with other new ones being made because, people age, they're getting more into animation, which makes that easier, but different stories, different ways to approach things. And that's something that Star Wars hasn't done in such a great way, except for within the Disney era. I hate to say it. People want to throw garbage at me, whatever it is, but Disney has pushed the envelope and they've taken the chances, some of which have failed and some of which have been notable and exceptional. One of which we're going to talk about here in a minute with Kenobi, which was very exceptional to me. But, they've had their failures too. But again, it's the old adage of you can't make an omelet. So you're right. I mean, a lot of people want to trash on Kathleen Kennedy for, she ruined my childhood because The Last Jedi and this thing, and then people want to piss and moan. But again, it's either going to stay what it was, or it's going to push the envelope and be something new, or it's just going to die. So do you want it to die, or do you want to see something new? So in seeing something new, there's going to be successes and there's going to be failures. So this is amazing news to me.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me with the choice of death or The Last Jedi, Charlie.
Oh,
don't.
Is that like give me liberty or
on the table?
Give me The Last Jedi or give me death?
Or give me murder? I don't know. Give me death or torture? Yeah. I was going to say, Sean, with yourself having two younglings, this next movie could potentially be your kids' entry with their own Star Wars, like the prequels were 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is where it's this could be their Star Wars.
So it better be good, damn it! It better be groundbreaking. Better be. They don't want them to be looking back for the rest of their lives on something that's absolute trash and garbage. So yeah, I mean, for a number of reasons, for every. And I'm being hyperbolic for hilarity's sake, but it has to be good for a variety of reasons. Obviously, I want my kids to be introduced into the universe with a good movie, but there's a lot of ground to make up, at least in the movie world. TV seems to be going okay, so maybe we're finding our footing here. But to me, there's a formula here. This has been figured out at this point. That's why movies and TV should be better now than I think we're actually seeing. We're still stumbling a little bit. Marvel has figured this out. That, and it all is under the same umbrella. So, and I'm starting to see some similarities in this. So I'm really just hopeful that those lessons actually carry over. We don't have to keep learning these same lessons on how to build big universes and expanded universes and all these things. That we figured it out. So hopefully they can apply that to Star Wars in a way that makes sense. I see them dipping their toes every once in a while. There's new characters over here. There's new, like I said, it's a tall order to introduce a new character into the mix here, or a new droid. You're going up against R2-D2 and some of the most iconic characters in cinema and in storytelling. So yeah, it's hard to get right, but I'm positive that this is going to be a good thing. And I am excited to see them do more movies, because that is, as I'm not the type of person who's going to watch every minute of every single thing. I haven't watched Boba Fett yet. I'm in on Kenobi. Well, there you go. So, and it's the mix up, but I'll show up to the movies. I'll show up to every single one. So that's where I'm at.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, and Todd, you and John and I were having this conversation recently, and I don't know if it was, I don't know how recently it was, but yeah, Star Wars is, it has its basis in the movies, and for good or for bad, it's a spectacle that is unmissable. You know what I mean? It's dynamic. It's dynamic. It catches the attention of the world, certainly of our culture, of our fandom, regardless. So whatever it is that they're going to do, it's going to grab a lot of eyes. Where the TV thing, I'm not going to say it's not super nichey, but it certainly does not have the eyes on it of the, oh my God, even if it's, the Phantom Menace, think about all the money and all the eyes and all the people going to see it over and over again, for good or for bad. And we're going to say mostly bad, but it's still
I
being
think that's the most important thing. Like, I'm satisfied with a movie every year or 2 years, whatever. That's fine.
Right.
But like, there's a rabid fan base who needs more than that, and the TV is like perfect for that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You draw the line. So anyway, good. Like I said, you curse Kathleen Kennedy as much as you want. Of course, people do, which is pointless because Todd, it's those online petitions. Oh, sign an online petition to get Kathleen Kennedy fired.
I'm not her biggest fan because of a lot of the things that have occurred. You heard so much noise. A lot of the firing and the hiring and the way certain things were handled. That's essentially her. That's her responsibility. And you see what's going with Marvel. You saw Star Wars start like this when she took it over. It started big and then it kind of shrank down. Whereas Marvel with Kevin Feige just grew and grew and grew. So you kind of see a dynamic there. And ultimately, she got to take on this because she had a relationship with both Lucas and Spielberg. She grew up with them, so she's of that age, and she can keep a ship afloat. And that was really what it was, to then say what's next for Star Wars, because she's 60 some odd years old. She's not going to be there forever. So it's basically she's keeping afloat until the next leadership can come in and truly hopefully do something phenomenal with Star Wars.
So you think it'll be the F&F show? It'll be Favreau and Filoni that really take over?
I don't think they should. I think it should be someone else that has a viewpoint of what's good for overall Star Wars versus just the set of characters.
It doesn't have
Filoni likes this area.
Right. He likes the box. I agree.
Outside of this area. And Favreau's a great guy and he does things really well, but I don't know if he's great for everything Star Wars.
But the thing is, they're you could consider them heir apparent. Is somebody just going to pop out and be, ta-da, I'm a new guy and taking over?
I think you get somebody who has a bigger lens than just I make movies and I write scripts.
Right. Yeah. I think there's nowhere to go but up from Star Wars.
But hopefully. Something that is probably not going to go up.
Ooh.
Oh, damn.
This one is so weird.
Yeah, I will claim I broke this a couple of days ago and I was like, what the fuck is this? Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Yeah, so very well summed up, Charlie, because apparently we are getting, and this is an interesting take on basically IP that now is public domain.
Yeah,
right.
And that's part of the hearts and minds of the reason why you have certain things that go to public domain is because before a certain year, before Disney existed, essentially, things went into the public domain. Sherlock Holmes, I believe Alice in Wonderland, those type of things are not owned by anyone anymore. And you can make your own movie if you want. And that's great. And Winnie the Pooh, I don't know how this happened because essentially, I think it was because Winnie the Pooh was introduced before Disney really had a strong relationship with that IP, that they just are just now part of the public domain. So essentially, if any of us wanted to make a Winnie the Pooh movie, we could, which is great because guess what? Somebody is. And it's exactly what no one wanted, but we'll see how this goes. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is coming out, and we're essentially getting Winnie and Piglet on a murderous rampage after eating Eeyore.
Wow, A.A. Malign spinning in his grave. Or
Sean, don't let your kids listen to this episode, by the way.
Yeah, I highly recommend not so much.
So this is just a very odd one. Christopher Robin is pulled away from them, and he's not giving them food. It's made Pooh and Piglet's life quite difficult because they've had to fend for themselves so much.
I would say after eating Eeyore, there was plenty of Pooh.
Well, they've essentially become feral.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
This is so crazy. And they showed some images where they're like wearing I don't know if it's bad CGI masks, and they're about to attack a girl. And
yeah, it's in a hot tub.
Wow.
A busty lass.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And I don't know who the girl is, but shouldn't it be Christopher Robin they want to kill versus her?
Well, maybe that's his girlfriend. And then you see a lot of, here's a bunch of women hanging out. Is Christopher Robin a female? No, there's a dude. This absolutely has the complete vibe of the lowest of low budget, like below the threshold of Blumhouse, and directed by some guy who's like, oh my God, this is my dream to make something so super edgy and this thing and that thing. Oh my God. Oh,
It
it's just
truly is. It truly
it,
is. It reminds me of those, like the what is it, Five Nights at Freddy's, where
Todd,
it's like
wasn't it
your Showbiz Pizza or Chuck E. Cheese, we're
right?
gonna kill you.
Isn't that remind one of your beloved ska bands had the song "One Step Beyond"? This is "One Step Beyond."
Yes, Madness. Yeah, One Step
Yeah, there
Beyond.
you
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Oh my
good
God,
times. Yes. So I don't think maybe that song will be in this show,
I
but you
think
know
so.
what?
Please.
And maybe we'll get a spin-off game out of this as well, kind of like that weird like Murder Bear game back in the day. Sean, remember that?
Oh, Murder Bear. That sounds
Remember
great.
that teddy
I'm
bear that would
engaged.
kill people game?
The
Colin
Danganronpa.
Moriarty loved it. No, it was like this. I can't remember what it is. I'll tell everyone later, but it was this dumb movie about a teddy bear that would murder people. It
Oh,
was
movie.
very weird.
No, I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Well, it's
I-
actually a video game.
This looks
Yeah.
amazing, but so I'm day one on this. I cannot
Really?
wait to watch. No, probably not. But like, we need
Twist.
the world is a nightmare. We need garbage stuff like this to just
Sure.
mix things up, spice it up, mess
my
with the
God.
whole. You know what this is actually going to do is this is going to happen. And somebody's going to have to change like the copyright laws. They're going to have to extend stuff to like 200 years, or whatever it is.
So you're saying that this film will
Might be the last.
engender real change in the world.
It might, and maybe that's it. It's an interesting. I mean, the movie is one thing, and the story around it is hilarious, and good for them
Oh
for
my
coming up
God.
with it and producing it, and convincing somebody to invest the dollars, and convincing
Right.
cameramen to shoot it, and convincing actors to be part of it. All that kind of stuff. Good for them. I think that's awesome.
So
Unbelievable.
the Piglet Bill will be introduced in 2023.
Right, exactly. Yes,
Dude,
The,
Tigger is just going to kill. He's going to be a serial killer.
It'll
Tigger
be-
will just like go around. He's stacking bodies, man.
So is this going to be Eeyore's Law, kind of like what was it, Mary's Law, or whatever it is? One of those about just.
Well, then I want the
No.
prequel. Like you laid out the plot. Like this demands a prequel. What happened to Eeyore? Like that better be a scene. Like let's get after it. So if we really want to explore it, there's a lot of meat on the bone here, if you will.
Oh, I won't take it back. Take it back.
I think the more interesting part about this is just the fact that we are at an era now where we've been celebrating some of these IP for so long, and maybe the digital age has extended the life cycle or lifespan of some of these things. Where you go, like, is the copyright laws, are they still serving in the way that they were before?
Mhm.
Where 100 years
Right.
seemed like an eternity. It's like a child made it up. It's like I'm gonna have $100 when I grow up. It's like it's not all that much.
Reminds me of Old Laws, the episode of The Simpsons where they have to go to the town charter, and it says, it's legal to place squirrels in your pants for the
Right.
purpose of betting. Yes, exactly. That's what it is.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's why I always have to refer to Mark or another Canadian and say, "What do they do in Canada for this? The U.S. is doing this. What does Canada do?
Chipmunks.
Is someone
Chipmunks.
Oh, there you go,
Yeah.
chipmunks.
It's chipmunks.
Yeah,
There you
okay.
go. Yeah,
Yes.
there you go. I love it.
The first daughter must ride a moose onto her wedding celebration.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
There
If you
you
go
go.
far enough north, yeah, it's beaver instead of a dog sled. It's actually beaver sleds. They just
Oh, those poor beavers are losing their minds. How often do you have to swap them out because they die?
I misspoke. For land travel, it's dog sleds. In the water, it's
Oh.
actually beavers.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
you just strap them to your feet like water shoes. Whoa!
yeah.
Like beavers per hour, like miles per hour. I don't know.
Yeah. If they respect you, they'll slap their
PH.
tails on the water, synchronized
Exactly.
Oh,
synchronized
there you go.
fashion. Mhm.
Keeps it
Oh,
running.
well.
So you on the back like a motorboat. I love it.
Yes. So pivoting from a not so happy story to a more really fun, just goofy stuff. Talking about the man we talked about who's making the next Star Wars film. He's made Thor such a fun character in that universe, and brought so much vibrance to it that we got a better look during the NBA playoffs of the Thor movie. We had this great. I'm blanking on his name. The character, was it Korg? Yes, telling the
Korg,
story
right.
of Thor, how
Right.
he's been brought in and basically resurrected, and we got awesome more pictures or images of Natalie Portman, and we also got Russell Crowe fully gotten his Zeus on, and then we got a fully naked Chris or Thor. Call him whatever you will.
Yeah, I have never seen a trailer that had something blurred out. I thought that was awesome. A green band trailer, obviously a red band trailer. You see all kinds of things, but yeah.
Well, I don't think we're getting that in the release anyway. Sean.
No, you don't think they're going to cut it, but immediately when the Wags went to work on this afterwards, and all the Easter eggs you missed, the tattoo on his back he has a tattoo of Loki on his back. like in
Oh, really? I
remembrance.
didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's again, new rock stars or any of those other YouTube channels that I'll tune into with the Easter egg videos. That'll be one of them. So plug. Send me some money, buddy.
Yeah, and apparently a big part of this movie is Valkyrie's looking for a queen to run Asgard. So it's a love story essentially, which is love, love and thunder, and we might see Natalie Portman rekindling with Thor, and we got more with Christian Bale as Gore, the God Butcher, and no, he
Right.
doesn't, butcher meats for the gods. Sorry,
I guess.
He's not
He also
making it
apparently
T-bone
has
steaks.
he has a mouthful of black stuff. That's his deal. He's like,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
And it's kind of disappointing that they just basically made him an albino versus the way he looks in the comics, which he looks a little bit alien. And that's why we're getting the other gods. We're getting the basically the Greek gods involved, because he kills not just Norwegian gods, but he kills also other eras of gods. So this could open up the door for Egyptian gods, which would bring in Moon Knight. So this could be really a big deal.
Yeah, nice. I can't wait. I mean, and I talked obviously before we got everything rolling on the summer movie wager when the teaser trailer for this dropped. I said this will be the movie of the summer box office wise, but even now, I mean, that could be totally off. Doctor Strange continues to do very well. As a matter of fact, I think I cranked some numbers on that, Todd, even just looking at the way things are kind of where they sit right now. Strange is kind of holding his own, but again, where do I have that?
Everything's doing well right now. So
yeah, right. Yeah, he's at about 350 domestic, 354.
Okay.
So yeah, with Top Gun coming along and the buzz it's getting, and then and then Jurassic World is going to drop June 10, and then Thor's a month after that. So I am fascinated to see how good things are going to do. Good stuff.
Yeah, and Sean, do your kids go to the movies, or are they too young? Is it worth the trip?
We're still kind of coming out of the pandemic a little bit, and we haven't really had something that really resonates with them. We watched the Chip and Dale's thing on an iPad when we were camping last week, and that's kind of where we're at. So I am looking forward to it, but no, there's I don't even know if this would be the one that I would take them to be honest. I'm not sure. Like Lincoln really isn't into the superheroes nearly as much as his cousin is. His cousin James is about a couple months older, and he's all into Hulk, and especially Hulk and Iron Man and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. You kind of put it in front of him and he's like, nah, on to something else. And maybe just at another time, so
I have a recommendation for your kids. It's called Superhero Squad. It's on Disney Plus. And it's
I've seen it.
It's such a good show for kids.
Yes.
It's goofy, MODOK. It's goofy humor, lots of farts, and
Love
just
it.
MODOK.
Oh
Lots
my
of farts.
God.
That one goes back a bit. So because I watched that with my son when he was young, and it was a giggle. So good stuff, kids. All right, well, that's about the size of it. The news comes to a draw. Time to get out. I just got a new phone. I don't know if I have the Scugtown app up yet, but let me download it so I can get us an Uber so we can get down to Nastyville. That's right. I'm talking about the Geek Easy, where we're going to be breaking down stuff we're enjoying. So let's go for it. 2, 1, engage.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. And oh my, we are on the cusp of so much entertainment that I am not even going to talk about Stranger Things this week. It will be next week.
Yes.
But we'll be talking about kind of what's taken over the internet right now. And Sean, let's start with you. What have you been geeking out about, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all over Obi-Wan. I think we can jump on into that. But we actually started a little Patreon exclusive podcast over at Carpool Gaming called The Geek Out. So we're just kind of honoring Bobby a little bit with that one. And we went through a spoiler cast of Scott Pilgrim books 1 and 2, and I'm just like, I've been waiting for this for a long time because, of course, I have probably the exact same sickness, disease, condition as you guys, where I cannot just enjoy content on it or movies or books or anything on its own without creating content. I've got to link enjoying something with actually creating content. So I've been waiting for the podcast to kind of get kicked off for our patrons, and now I've got a whole shelf full of stuff I'm going to be catching up on. Scott Pilgrim is where I'm starting. And I'm totally in love with these books. And what I'm enjoying most about talking about them is kind of just exploring what exactly is it that I find it so endearing? Like, is it the art style? Is it the writing? Is it the characters? Is it what, like, it's this weird mashup of video games and real life? Is it the fact that it's Canadian? And in the end, at least at this stage, I think that it's just all of those things. Scott Pilgrim is something that, again, I just see a lot of people really excited about it, saying it's the greatest thing in the world. And I'm kind of like crossing my arms over here going like, can't be that good. And then I read the first little bit and I'm completely infatuated with this. So this will go down as I've said it before, this will go down as my gateway drug into comics. It's an area of geekdom that I've wanted to get into for a very, very long time. And some of it will be superhero stuff, but honestly, like, I'm kind of more interested in the non-superhero stuff. A lot of just indie comics are kind of like the things that are stacking up on my shelf. And it's funny because you say like, oh, the smaller stuff, and it's like Saga. I've got like 3 volumes of Saga, like the big hardcover books, and it's about as big from a small comic as you can probably get. But I read the first couple trade paperbacks on that, and just went, okay, I'm done with the trades. I'm just buying these hardcovers. So I'm kind of just enjoying even discovering what I like about comics. Like I've collected a few singles and kind of went, well, I can't really display them anywhere. I don't really want to get into the habit of just a bunch of long boxes everywhere. I like having a nice shelf and things looking nice. So I end up with trades are kind of the bare minimum, but nice hardcovers are kind of where I probably will lie. It just doesn't seem as satisfying to me. So that's it's an entry into an area that I've just been wanting to get into probably since I was a kid, but didn't really have time, money, or know how to get into it. And now there's just so much information out there, which is great. And a lot of like welcoming YouTube videos, which I have found quite helpful. And I'm just, kind of getting into comics for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy.
And then that will be our Thunderdome topic, is really about how you navigate that, especially with over 70 years of properties.
Seriously.
And if you're coming in and it's almost overwhelming. It's like those video games where it's like you see 85 quest markers. Like, I have analysis by paralysis. I don't know where to start.
Yeah,
so
we'll get into it.
That'll be a good, definitely.
sure.
Yeah, this is awesome. But Scott Pilgrim, I remember when the Totally Rad show, which that was my really entry into like geek podcasting and video stuff, that they recommended this book, and I'm like, what is this book? And I read it and just looked for every issue to come out, and then the comic or the movie, and then the video game. So it's definitely, I'm so happy to see so many people discover that book.
Yeah, it continues. I've got the color hardcover stuff, so I'm excited about that. And it started with just one, and then all of a sudden I've got 6 books. And it's like, okay, well, I'm actually gonna have to create like a budget line for this thing. Like those books aren't exactly cheap either. So
they're breeding like tribbles. My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we're gonna get into the big one of the show, and that's something we all watched, which is Obi-Wan, episode 1.
Oh, yes.
Spoilers are ahead. We're only going to talk about the first episode. So let's go from there. So, Sean, Obi-Wan.
My goodness gracious. I was surprised that, I mean, if we go even beat for beat, you fire it up and it's like, oh, we're going right to prequel celebration here. And they almost do I don't know what your guys' exact thoughts are on the prequels. I imagine it's very similar to most other people, but like they actually kind of do a good job of wrapping this up and go, were they good? Like, those are some pretty amazing moments that we saw, and they tricks you a little bit. But the recap of the moments was what I was celebrating, really.
Big time. I would say, and I've said it several times over the last couple of days. Again, April and I were early risers. We were up. We watched this first thing on Friday morning. I watched it again this morning. And I think one of the things, if we're focusing on episode 1, the first episode, that is so absolutely staggering is that in between 5 and 6 minutes, I didn't look at the time mark, they take everything that you need out of the prequels and put it into the single recap.
Totally. Yeah.
So for the, one of the bigger prequel haters that I know, which is Todd, and prequels in general, but the Star Wars, and Todd, if you ever like, wow, what was it? You can go to the Obi-Wan page on Disney Plus, click over to extras, and this is available on its own. And you just be like, oh, I wonder what the exact word was that Anakin said when Qui-Gon was on fire at the end of that movie or whatever.
So it's like the Phantom cut with one
Right.
with all
Yes.
the
You
yeah.
took basically, 5.5 hours of movie and broke it into 5 minutes. And you didn't think they could do it, but they
Oh,
really
I thought that there's about 5 minutes of good stuff in the prequels, so that's perfect.
Oh my God, 5 minutes of good stuff.
Darth Maul's
that
battle's at least
that
5 minutes.
that had
That's
Duel of the
true.
Fates. So they're
Yeah.
10 minutes. You got 10
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly. Yeah, and it's funny because I was just I mentioned this to you, Charlie and John, and what I'm thinking of, I think of a certain age. There are people that are nostalgic for the prequels.
Totally.
True, and we get
There
them,
are-
and we get them
Yeah.
over on Holocron. We've had several people that Mark has
because
brought
that was
in.
their
Yeah.
Star Wars. Myself, I am not nostalgic for that. I was almost 25 years old when the prequels came out.
We were legal adults at that point.
So
and
my level of understanding of like what genre shows could be, what production values could be, and acting and directing, that came into my lens of the prequels. I'm like, I'm trying to
Right.
compare it to other quality sci-fi and other movies, and I'm like, it just doesn't stack up. I understand it's exciting to see those characters on screen, but you kind of have to realize it's like it wasn't well directed, written, or acted, and you kind of saw that. And so
Right.
it's like, what's there that's left? And it's like, oh, I love those characters,
Moments.
regardless of what they
Right.
do,
Moments.
what they
Right.
say.
Vignettes.
Yeah, they could make a sandwich or like, oh, it's not the greatest thing in the world. I'm like, I guess, but I mean, I appreciate that's what people like about it because it's something like myself. I love the original trilogy. I know they don't hold up as well that many years later, but the difference between the OT and the prequels is you had collaborators with George
As a
who
collaborator
were
in that
great
issue.
at
Yeah,
things,
exactly.
and he basically took George's ideas and the things where he lacked and built those, and it was a
And-
collaborative process. Yeah.
And because the movie was edited by by Marshall Lucas, that's why they all worked out.
She could say no to her husband.
and
She
then-
could say, George, this is the dumbest thing in the world.
And she did it one too many times, and
Yep.
then she got the boot.
Yeah, but I mean, I do appreciate things in the prequels. It's like not all bad, and I think that to your point, Sean, bringing these things back, it's like what were the key touchstones, and those were good. It was just a lot of around it was just kind of messy, and it was like, okay, it didn't resonate with me. So
there's no doubt.
yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And I think, but I think it was important. And the reason I even bring it up is because it was important for it to be conveyed and demonstrated in a way that was compelling to people and like might even trick you into thinking like maybe they weren't so bad, but at least this moment was pretty good because they had a choice on what story they were going to tell here and what time frame and where everybody was at, and it's anchored to the prequels. So you have to start, like the first opening of any story is going to be super important in the way that your first impressions are. Like people make up their minds very, very quickly. So I thought that the wrap up was excellent. And then it just allowed you to be in where Obi-Wan is now and enjoy it and just go, for me personally, I watched it and I felt myself go like, okay, that's okay. We're here and it's right after this or 10 years after. And I'm okay with that.
Obi-Wan's super sad life. My so-called life with Obi-Wan. Yeah.
It's the same. It's like Groundhog's Day. Fold up my little meat in my little pot, put it away.
Right,
10 years is just enough time to be like distant enough from all of that stuff that we can go, okay, we can move on a little bit.
He was like, I used to live on Coruscant, go to fancy parties, and now I'm stealing some meat. That's my life. And yeah, it was he was
Jawa. I'm fighting with the Jawa.
Yeah, because he's stealing from me, exactly.
That's awesome.
And then it's just and then he's getting wicked burns from Owen. Boy, Owen. Oh, he's so grumpy. He's so, and it's funny, you can really see, I think a great contrast, even in the first episode, is seeing Obi-Wan in the prequels, but also seeing Owen in episode 2 and seeing him from there when he's a young teen and blah, blah, blah. This is my girlfriend, Beru. And then seeing him in this, and he's just on his way to being that grumpy old fucker that you see in episode 4. He's just so like, stay away from us and blah, 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 like you taught his dad. You suck.
So I've got a question. I'm going to come off as sounding really dumb and like a noob or something. Star Wars
noob.
So Owen is what relation to Luke?
It's easy. He is Luke's step uncle. Because what happened was Anakin's mother, Shmi, was a slave who was freed, who married a moisture farmer named Klieg Lars, whose son is Owen.
Okay.
And yes, and then Shmi died. Klieg obviously dies later on, so Owen inherits the farm. He marries Beru, and then at that point, Obi-Wan shows up and hands him a baby, and then he goes, "Deuces, bitch, I'm out," and he goes into the desert. That's the end of episode 3.
It's like Rick Moranis as Dark Helmet saying, "Who are you? I'm your father's mother's cousin's brother's second nephew."
What does that make us? Nothing. Yeah, exactly.
Nothing. Okay.
Yeah, they
are
not related at all. He's closer related to Obi-Wan than he's related to.
Got it. Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm like trying to remember. I'm like, okay, because I don't live and breathe Star Wars, so I'm like some of the connections are like a little nebulous to me. So I was
Luke's only blood relation at this point is Leia, and then they have cousins back on Naboo, which was another fake story that came up this week. But yeah, you saw that Padme had a sister who had 2 kids, and so they're related to Luke and Leia, and that seems right for something that could come
by adoption, not by blood, though.
No, by blood, because those would be Padme's sister's kids. Padme's their mother, so cousins once removed or something. I never understood that shit about cousins.
Okay.
We need a whiteboard.
We're getting too deep here.
We need a whiteboard.
We're getting too deep. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like it's always sunny.
Yep.
This parachute is an knapsack. Help me.
So yeah, I mean, as we go through this, I mean, and one of my feelings about, I mean, it's great to see Ewan McGregor come back, but one of my things I've had with Obi-Wan is, we've had how many seasons of seeing Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars? So for my, like, there hasn't been a lot of not Obi-Wan stories, which is something. And we also had him reappear as he finally killed Darth Maul, which is, I'm like, so my mistake, like, Obi-Wan has a ton of content in screen, so it's not like he's been away. We just haven't seen a live version of him,
right? And this is a very in between, downtrodden office space kind of Obi-Wan. I mean, he's really. Yeah. I mean, even as you'll see as you get into the second episode, he's clearly not the same guy, and he's in the first episode he's arguing with Bale when Bale comes to him for this rescue mission. He's like, "I'm not the man I once was."
Charlie, don't tell.
No, that was from first episode 1. Okay, yeah, just take it easy.
It's a Top Gun moment, right in Obi-Wan, like I'm retired, or maybe Hot Shots.
I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's your Danny Glover moment. But anyway, Sean, please watch episode 2 ASAP, because we should have you on Holocron to talk about.
Oh,
this
that'd be fun. That was super fun. Yeah, I mean, for me, like, the first episode seemed to center around like really 3. Like, there's a Triforce kind of thing happening here with Obi-Wan, and then you get a little glimpse of Luke. Like, he's kind of you see him, and he's doing an Anakin thing, and it's just like, I don't know if we've ever seen that before, but that's there. And then Leia, and I went like, I don't know. I was not paying attention to anything about this show going in. So I came in completely dark, like not knowing what it was about, other than Ewan McGregor was going to be there. So when Leia shows up and they do a little like trickery about it, like Leia, you think it's her, but she sent somebody in her place. And I thought that was super cute. And a lot of, I feel like Carrie Fisher's just mannerisms are totally captured by this young actress.
Right.
And
she's a good actress too. That helps.
Yeah, well, definitely. There's a lot there. There's a lot of nuance, I think, to Leia that has to be conveyed in the performance. I think much more important than people realize until maybe you see it and you go, oh snap, like thank goodness that there's somebody capable in this role, because Leia is so much more than just like slave Leia at Jabba's palace kind of thing. Like there's so much more to it, and they got into it in the last 3 movies, which I was grateful for. But that's going to be with her from a young age, and this is where I get a little bit cliche, where I go like, as a dad of a daughter, like it hit me like seeing her like this. I'm like, yes, this is the story that could be told. So I was a little bit swept off my feet, to be honest with you, where I was expecting to see old like Kenobi kind of just get a little bit older and aw shucks me and living his life. And then I'm like, oh snap, like is this a Leia story? Like she
could be.
And I hope that it is. So there's way more to this than I thought that there was going to be. There's, obviously Order 66, and there's Jedis hiding and Inquisitors, but like I'm kind of hooked at Leia at this moment.
Hooked.
I've deemed the series Adventures in Baby Sithing.
That's wow, so clever. Okay, kids, for the sake of time, let's move on. I'm taking over. I'm getting in the driver's seat. Todd, you and I both saw Top Gun: Maverick.
The most American thing in the world.
It was so American.
Yeah.
You know what's more? You know what's just as Canadian as that is American? I was going to see Top Gun, but I returned my tickets to watch playoff hockey.
Oh,
there you go.
And it landed on. We
go.
didn't know. We bought tickets at the beginning of the month. Didn't realize it was going to be Game 5.
I thought you were because you were watching Shorzy or something like that.
Watching
get the maple syrup out of the tree. I forgot to turn off the taps.
Oh my god! But anyway, yes, Todd. Top Gun, Maverick. This is 35 years plus after it was actually filmed in 2018 because it was supposed to come out in 2019.
That's wild.
So this movie is 4 years in the can. Following up essentially 30 plus years after the original, we catch up with now naval captain Pete Mitchell Maverick, still in his career, low ranking, pain in the ass, who is still breaking the rules and whatever it is, gets recalled to Top Gun as a near dying wish from his super best friend in the whole wide world. That would be Iceman, Tim Kazansky, played by Val Kilmer, who they did really a very nice thing of kind of bringing him in. Val Kilmer has been ill for a number of years. He has, I believe, he had throat cancer, lost his voice. They kind of digitized him to bring him into this movie for his cameo, which was awesome. Todd, I'm going to go on record as saying this was better than the original, hands down.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I mean, and maybe you could chalk it up to the fact that the 80s gave us some very stereotypical Arnold Schwarzenegger, super, in Commando or Predator, like super cornball, like people don't talk like this. It's almost like George Lucas. But this movie had real heart because you saw Maverick struggling with his age and his lack of willingness to compromise and pass along, and then being caught up in having to, instruct the son of his, late best friend, who was his Rio in the first movie, Goose, who was played by Anthony Edwards, who died in an accident, which, ultimately was just that. And Maverick was not responsible, but still, left this kid fatherless. And they didn't bring back Meg Ryan, thank God, because her character died off
Kelly
screen
McGillis.
Oh yeah, Kelly
McGillis.
Thank God, because those are two faces that I don't think we want to see. I know.
Charlie's so rude. They brought Ed Harris back, and man,
What's
that guy
wrong
looks
with
like a
Meg
ghoul.
Ryan?
Dude, Google Meg
She
Ryan.
had bad plastic
Google.
surgery. Bad
Trust me.
plastic surgery.
Okay.
That is not a Kelly McGillis.
What about Kelly McGillis?
Yeah,
but Ed Harris looks worse than all of them. He looks like a ghoul. He looks like a ghoul.
I don't think he looks any different than he ever did. He's never been handsome.
But John Hamm, still handsome.
Even Val Kilmer, for as ill as he was, I thought looked great. I mean, to be honest with you. But anyway, great flick. I don't want to talk a hell of a lot more about it because I want to encourage people to go out and see it. I don't know about you, Todd, but
I would say. I mean, one of the fears like my wife had for this movie was: is it just a retread? Is it just like that? I'm like, you know what? They really threaded the needle by kind of capturing things that made Top Gun cool for the 80s.
Right.
Sometimes they repeated those things verbatim, which I thought, like, oh, that's a brave choice to.
Well, I mean,
that song again, have almost the same opening.
Yeah,
and then
it just felt like footage. Yeah, you're right.
There was still some dialogue, and I'm like, okay, that dialogue is not of this time either. That wasn't good. And then but I will say this movie is intense. You have to see this movie on a big screen. You really do, because it is larger than life. These planes, these jets doing these fight scenes. It's intense.
My God.
It's all ages. I mean, there's really nothing inappropriate for kids.
No, it's not violent, and there's not really bad language.
It's wonderful. I mean, if you love seeing practical effects, which is a very these days, it's full on, and you feel intense, and even the Lady Gaga song worked. It sounds so 80s and over the top.
Yeah, Lady Gaga. And I love it that this movie had stakes. It was based around a mission, which the first film really had no stakes. It was just the only stakes were Tom Cruise's ego and the ego of Val Kilmer's character and blah blah. And so this had some real stakes. And you got to see some real relationships. Maverick had a relationship with a woman that was really, it seemed like it had been on and off again for decades, played by the absolutely superb Jennifer Connelly, always been top of my hall pass list and always will be.
Nice.
Oh God. Oh,
I
Lord.
will tell you though, Miles Teller, I think he was one of the low points of the film. I just don't think he's a very.
I
good,
don't know
he's,
what the
yeah.
deal with his face is. He looks like he's. I mean, no, he's very scratched up. So I don't know if he was a prize fighter when he was in high school or he was in a car accident or something. But if you closes up his face,
I just felt like he came off very flat for someone that's supposed to be an emotional touch point in this movie.
Right?
I really think he came off flat. So, but I will tell you, the person that I think is phenomenal, Hangman, played by the actor who played Chad Radwell, is phenomenal. He is like the Iceman of this movie. He is so on it, and he's fantastic. Come for him.
And they very much mirrored that movie at the end of the film with the big, they did a handshake but not a big hug. But anyway, Todd, for the sake of time, take us home. What do you got?
Yeah, so Sean, you mentioned this movie, Rescue Rangers, on Disney Plus. Holy cow. This movie, it's out. Sorry, I will try not to do a lot of spoilers because part of the fun of this movie, this is like Roger Rabbit Part 2.
Totally.
In the way it was a murder mystery, bringing in all of these different characters from all these different properties. And I was amazed at all the things they brought in. I'm like, they could bring in that character? I mean, this is a Disney film, and they got everyone to basically climb on board. And one of the things that's already out there is the Ugly Sonic cameo. It's like Ugly Sonic is from 2 years ago.
Oh, you're talking about the one where the first trailer where Sonic looks like he's some kind of chupacabra.
So they actually had that Ugly Sonic.
That's awesome.
But it was hilarious because Charlie, part of it kicked off in like at a Comic-Con, and you had all of these like sub tier characters. One of the ones that you'll love, and I'll just give it away, Tigra from that really horrible Avengers United animated series. They had that version of Tigra in there.
Oh God. I love Tigra, very sexy character, but easy to get wrong because she's just orange. She's a tabby cat in a bikini. I mean, come on.
It's a weird look, but this movie, it was written by the Lonely Island guys.
Oh,
so
God.
really well
That's
written.
what got me. That's
Jorma,
that's 100% what got me.
Steve and Sandberg,
I would have ignored this movie forever and ever and ever, even with the Ugly Sonic thing out there. But it was when I heard that they were involved, I'm like, I am totally in on this, and they nailed it.
That's
they crushed it.
Oh yeah, all right, we'll watch it.
Yeah, it did the rarity of typically our movies are like, oh, it's on, and then you get that like dip in the middle where, wow, did this run out of writing talent and they ran out of things to talk about, and then it peaks again. This movie felt very much on point almost the whole way through.
Big time.
So, and one of the things, and Sean, I don't know if you've seen this or your kids have seen those movies that are like the direct to video that are not necessarily quite right. I love what they do with this. It's
the Transmorphers, good stuff.
Yes, it's on that level. Yeah, so definitely see it. It was definitely my highlight of last week. It was wonderful.
Oh, that's funny. Good stuff. Awesome. Well, that does it for the Geek Easy. So, as always, time to get the hell out of here. Todd, for the 400th time, let's skip out on the bill because they don't deserve it. It's time to buzz up Air Qantas. We've got to get to the land down under. That's right. It's time for the Thunderdome with the mutants and the topic. So let's go. Engage.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tino. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week we've got a topic. And I thought this was great because I've been watching Sean's journey with really discovering comics, getting into them, and my thought processes and Charlie's, we've both been in comics for years, and we both have fallen in and out of love with comics throughout the years. So we've had touchstones that have brought us back because we kind of had a baseline in it. But in regards to Sean's perspective, where he's essentially now given so many options to read comic books, so many digital stores, so many physical versions, so many publishers, so many storylines. It's like, where do you navigate? So I wanted to kind of really get Sean's viewpoint on what is that experience like, and then from that perspective, maybe we have some recommendations as well, and anything you've read recently, like, hey, I'd recommend this to new readers. So let's go from there. So Sean, when did it really start where you're like, man, comics, I want to get back into this thing, or I want to really get into it.
I think even to go even further back, like where it really started for me of an appreciation of superheroes in particular was, I mean, X-Men the cartoon back in the 90s is a huge part of it. The Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s as well. But the thing that like got me into the collectible nature was, aside from my hockey cards, as a good Canadian boy does, was Overpower, the sort of Magic the Gathering light, but starring, a bunch of Marvel characters. And I'll never forget like the feeling of going to the local comic book store. It's called Comic King, just a no frills, all comics kind of store. At least at that point, there was also collectible cards, and Dad would take us over there, and me and my two brothers, we each got our starter deck, and that kicked us off of just, Now we're in. We're buying booster packs. We're buying boxes. We got our binders going, and the obsessive trying to complete the set and everything that was a little out of reach for us. Because it's not cheap. It was an expensive kind of hobby, but for us, it was something, and for me particularly, like that I could understand. And it had a box that I could fill. Like it had a quantifiable number of cards that I could collect, and I would play a game with my friends, and it was ongoing. So like, I guess there was value there in addition to all of those other things that made it palpable for me to dive into. But in order to get into this thing, I had to be like quite aware of comics, because I would go to a comic store to do it. But I just, to your point, Todd, like I was always very overwhelmed with like, where do you even start? And it's never ending. Was, I think, kind of the other piece was, even if I started, I don't even know what you call. I'm such a noob at this stuff. Like the hold boxes, I guess, that they would have. Like, I'm just gonna be buying that stuff forever. And that's not how my mind worked. We were raised, like I said before, we were buying shreddies and separate brown sugar. So this notion of like this forever hobby wasn't really going to align. So I was well aware of it. Saw my friends getting into it. I had an appreciation for the art of it. My neighbor Matt, my best friend from the beginning of time for me, we would go to the library and get How to Draw Superheroes the Marvel Way with Stan Lee and
classic.
So we would try to draw. We would try to get into it. So I was like comic book adjacent forever, like just outside. And yeah, watching cartoons, I loved it. Watching the movies, I really liked it. I loved when Spider-Man kind of changed the deal with everything. So, but I just wasn't into comics. And this, I don't know. I guess I was satisfied with other things, but it always confused other people. Like, what do you mean you're not into the stuff? And I don't know. I've waited until I've had kids to make this plunge, as if this is when I've got all the time in the world, which I absolutely don't.
Right.
But I guess at a certain point, I just realized there was like an on-ramp onto this thing. It could be everywhere. It's never ending. But I have a weird appreciation for Todd McFarlane. Local boy, grew up in Alberta, and of course did Spawn. But I knew him originally from Spawn, actually. So I like when he kind of did that. But then discovering, of course, his origin story, I think, is one of the more fascinating thing. And then him alongside Jim Lee and everybody else that eventually ended up creating Image. And you guys know that story much better than I do. But I'm just like, I found my in, because now I'm into the creators behind it. I know the stories behind, or at least some of them behind these comics. And that's generally been my kind of approach with most entertainment. I appreciate it much more when I know what's behind it. There's albums that I listen to that like I think are garbage, and then I hear what was the inspiration behind it. I'm like, oh, I like this music much more. It's the same music, but my understanding of it is changed. And I think that's kind of what happened with comics, is I started to learn more and more about Todd McFarlane and everything that he was doing, the way he changed Spider-Man and all this other stuff, and the way he introduced Venom and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, this is the rabbit hole. I have fallen in.
I was an original reader of that McFarlane run, so that was in 1987.
That's awesome.
I was 11, and it was the first artist that I'd ever seen that really pushed the envelope. Things were fantastical, and he was,
he made the webs look like the spaghetti web.
Yeah,
he was the webs.
Yeah, he was taking when you hold it up to like a J.R. Senior, or you hold it up to like an Alex Saviuk, who was another Spider-Man artist of the time, where things were just very plain,
Yep.
and very,
Marvel way.
very plain and predictable. Yeah, exactly. Where, McFarlane, again, it was almost kind of too much for me at the time. I was like, I don't know if I really prefer this.
Yeah,
But
totally. I get that.
Looking back, he was pushing the envelope, and that's how art grows, by pushing beyond. And
You didn't read the Marvel way to draw comics.
He did, yeah.
Probably not.
He went to your local library and said, "Fuck this! I'm gonna
Throws it out.
drawing it the Todd way. Let's go."
And that was it. Like, there's so much attitude from him. Like, he's such a cocky dude, right? Like, he's just his personality, and it comes out in his drawings, and it comes out even now. And of course, he would go on to do what he did, because that seemed to be just like in his DNA, which is super fascinating. But it's definitely. And you guys have much deeper knowledge of this kind of stuff. But for me, Todd McFarlane was the one where I went, oh, I get him. He draws like this. Like, when I look at an image, like, that is probably Todd McFarlane. I can actually start to spot it now. And so from an artistry standpoint, I got a bit of an on-ramp there as well, where it's something for me to identify. It's kind of like when you learn a new language and like you don't even know where the words start and stop. Like, how are you supposed to move on from there? And for me, it was kind of the same thing with comics, where like once I started to understand, okay, that's Todd, and that's his style, and that's how we made things different. And the Spider-Man eyes are gigantic, and the webbing, and he's actually allowed to like shoot at the panel, like to the camera. All these things started to really, really interest me. And before I knew it, I still am not reading any comics, by the way. I'm reading all this other stuff. And so before I knew it, I started to narrow down what I should actually start looking for and what I should actually start buying. And that led me to even like, this is some foundational, fundamental stuff. Like, what's the difference between a single issue versus a trade paperback? And what's an omnibus? And what's all these other
It's a graphic
formats?
novel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that was, this is just how my brain works. I never had the framework for how comics work. And as soon as that started to click into place, I'm like, I feel comfortable. I can at least speak the language a little bit and start to look for some of these things. Now, I kind of went off the deep end a little bit and bought way too many comics and subscribe. I established my first VPN so that I could start a Amazon.com account instead of Amazon.ca, so that I could establish a Comixology subscription, because you can't get the unlimited here.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's
Comixology Unlimited is not available in Canada. Interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
you got Comixology, but not unlimited. Yeah, I wanted the subscription.
And I know neither is Marvel Unlimited, because it was something that we wanted to share with Mark back when he and I were doing a lot of Star Wars comics for our early when we first started doing Holocron, and he couldn't get them, so he could read mine off of Comixology because I bought them. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the gateway, which really made comic books so much more approachable now than they used to be. To your point, you go to a shop, often you bought issue 5, you come back 6 weeks later, oh, we ran out of issue 6. Sorry, you can't get it. So now you're like, I'm missing a chapter of the story.
Right.
But now we're in a method, and Sean, when Charlie and I grew up with comics, trade paperbacks were a rarity. It was always like the Marvel Masterworks, where it like captured like 30 issues of Spider-Man from like 1965. I was like, I want the more recent storylines. But they're like, nope, we're not doing it.
And those were later still. And again, they were hardback, which for a kid puts it out of the price range. You know, when you're going and spending like, oh, I got this comic, and the cover price originally 40 cents, and I'm paying $1 for it because it's from 10 years ago.
Right.
That's all cool and exciting. But that was, pouring through those old bins and looking through that old stuff. But in the digital age, and again, I'm a very lapsed reader. It's been probably over a year since I had a host of different subscriptions that I would have. And what I did is I did print books, because it was 50% off if you subscribe to a print book that you had an auto renewal. So I would get it, and Marvel coded all of them. So I would put the code in and then read the book and put the book away. Well, then I got to the point that I was just putting the book away. Then I got to the point that I'm decided to get rid of all the books. And now I'm to the point where I have Marvel Unlimited for life, but I rarely open it anymore. So I'm not reading anything right now. I'm really, really, really lapsed.
Yeah.
But again, everything comes in cycles. You know what I mean? Like, my wife had a surgery earlier this week. She's fine. But I was in the hospital for, 8 hours with her. And so I brought my iPad and opened up Marvel Unlimited, and I caught up on the most recent little miniseries that the Marvel Star Wars comics did, which I talked about on our last show, which I ended up enjoying very much. But again, then I was flipping through, it said recommended for you, and it's bringing up things that are somewhat topical. Doctor Strange, things related to Thor, She-Hulk, first issue of the She-Hulk from 1980. I read that. It's written by Stan Lee. You could tell because it had all of his lack of thought process, and everybody says what they think. Yeah, exactly.
Just
What you talking about,
dialogue.
Junior? I'll get you.
Check. Look, now I'm strong and I can flip over this car. Rah! Yeah,
All that internal doubt and thought balloons. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. Charlie Cycles, I read a lot when I was a kid. I stepped away from comics because of life. And then I got back into comics in high school because of Image, because I was seeing things that were so different than what had just been the standard in comics. And that opened up my mind to new comics and new independent books and things like that. I even joke, Charlie always jokes about my love of a comic book called Milk and Cheese. And it was just this uproarious comic about a drunken piece of cheese and dairy. And it said dairy gone wrong, which I thought was great. It was just like goofy and dumb. But I continued that path, and it's just I still love capes and cowls, but where I feel like comics are doing the best work right now is telling stories just in a visual medium.
Yes.
So, I mean, which is fantastic. And Comixology, to your point, Sean, is the best way to really dip your toes into.
Definitely.
Every medium. It's got manga, it's got independent books, it's got unique books that are made exclusively for Comixology, but it's also got DC and Marvel and other big publishers. So if I recommend any service, it's Comixology Unlimited, because you get a little bit of everything. Now, it's not as deep as the others, but it's $6 a month, and you have years of reading ahead, and you can experience all new stories, which is fantastic.
Right. And then on the flip side of it, Todd, there are the two, big powerhouses are Marvel Unlimited, which I've had a subscription to on and off for almost a decade, and you and I have gone back and forth. You share that. Shh, you didn't hear that. You didn't hear us sharing. Don't get us, Disney. Don't get us. And then DC finally got into it now, and their service is called, what is it called, Todd? Infinite,
DC Universe Infinite. And it's basically their equivalent now, except for Marvel does. They do books older than 3 months are added to the service. DC's at 6 months, but beyond that, they're equivalent, which I love because once again, individual comics are like, well, I don't know what they are Canadian, Sean, but I mean they're at least $4 here,
right? Which is crazy. I mean, my Marvel Unlimited subscription, because I do the plus one, because you get additional discounts, which I don't use, but what I do it is for is the Marvel Legends exclusive figure, which I throw in a box and wait for the value to rise so I can sell it, which basically pays for the subscription. But again, Todd and I share it. No, we don't, Disney, stop it. And I can crack it open whenever, you know what I mean? And I can, so it's like I'm very slowly rereading the 1998 Mark Waid, George Perez Avengers run, because that was some of the finest Avengers work that has been done in the modern age. Or I'll go back and revisit an old classic like Secret Wars or something like that. So I'm a bad example, but because I've been in this life. I got my first comic when I was 6. It was not Capes and Cows. It was a Star Wars comics. It was licensed. It was issue 60, which I picked up at the pharmacy in my small town in Metro Detroit where I grew up. And then it wasn't until 4 years later when some kid was passing an old, Ross Andrew Amazing Spider-Man comic from the 70s around, that Spider-Man got his hooks into me, and it has been ever since.
So I think this is a good point at this point. I think we're going to make some recommendations. So Sean, do you have any recommendations for new readers in regards to specific books or where you would head?
I mean, Saga it seems to be just a no-brainer to me. Like, I
remember, yeah.
I don't know, but it is a little. When people say, adult is maybe the word. Like people say mature, and it's like, is it mature? I'm not sure, but like, it's definitely, it's advanced. It's kind of the imagery there is something else, and to the point of I don't like I kind of have my fill of capes and cowls as you put. Like I kind of have that in the movies. Like I can look for something else here, and that's probably the most satisfying thing. I can't help but recommend Scott Pilgrim. I just think that is absolutely phenomenal. And for me, there's this weird kind of balance of, am I looking for something completely new, which those two things I think are, or where can I scratch a little bit of nostalgia, which is hard to do because I don't have comic nostalgia necessarily. But X-Men Legends is a series that
Good book.
is really, really fun. It's just like the illustrations and the coloring and everything. It's the show from the 90s. There was also one that I discovered. It's pretty good. Is I think it's called X-Men 92. I think is what it was. So I've been kind of digging some of those up here and there. So those have been pretty good. Actually jumping over to DC. These are some, I feel like I got a couple great recommendations. I need to give a shout out to, but there's Andrew Semichek from We the Nerdy, a bunch of people who I put out there on the internet. Today is Free Comic Book Day. It was in the middle of the pandemic, or when we had a little bit of a lull and they would welcome us back in. It was not happening in the month that it would typically happen. And I'm like, I'm going to take my kids because they just said they don't know what a comic book is. So we're going to go, like, they literally, this was them like 3 years old. They're like, what's a comic book? I'm like, all right, pack your stuff. We're going over here. We're coming home with some books. And on my way over, I'm like, I went in with the goal of not just taking all the free stuff. I wanted to go buy some stuff. So people threw out some really good recommendations to me. And I think that's when I took home Batman The Long Halloween, which I just like the artwork of it. And, there's a bunch of other stuff there. The Killing Joke was one that I saw the movie version of first that I actually I got for Christmas this holiday, which was excellent. And I really think that I'll just read and reread that one probably once a year. But yeah, I'm still kind of like crushing through a bunch of stuff. And I'm just kind of enjoying where I'm at in terms of where I've started. But I think it's just really important to figure out what you like. And sometimes it's just a matter of, to your point, Todd, like Comixology does a great job of like, you could start here and like right off the start, it says these entry points are The Boys, which I would love to get into. Saga is there. There's an amazing Spider-Man, Masterworks. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And I guess we'll kind of see where we go.
I have the pat myself singular distinction, and it's not current, but it's 92% current, is that I've read every issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. Thanks to Marvel.
Oh, wow.
And that is now 900 issues of continuity. And it was, and again, and some I've read multiple times because when I was a kid, I had the physical copies of, issues 100 through 300 that I would go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But no, I sat down, like I said, I've had Marvel Unlimited for 8 or 9 years, and in that time I read that. I also read The Ultimate Spider-Man, which was an early 2000s series.
Great book.
Yeah.
And it gave us Miles Morales Spider-Man actually near the very tail end of that. That is a great book. If I was gonna pick one Spider-Man book, it would be that one. It would be The Ultimate Spider-Man.
It's very good.
I'm scrolling through my library just to take a quick other second of like other things I've been reading. Descender and Ascender. I think those are on Image as well. I don't know if you guys have heard those ones. It's futuristic. There's a boy who turns out to be a robot, and it's a whole other, like, it's really, really interesting. And the only other one, Something is Killing the Children. Also very cool.
Oh, I've heard good things about that one too.
Very strange. So there's so much like I've got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles IDW collection volume 1 and Transformers IDW.
Ronin book. Wow. Yeah, I want to read the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ronin book.
Are we coming up on that being released as
it's going to be coming soon?
Yeah,
but that's super expensive. It's like $8 an issue.
Yeah,
way too expensive.
A couple of them, but I realized it's all going to be collected, so I'm gonna hold off.
Cool. So I'll just make a couple recommendations, but I do want to say, Sean, you tweeted, and Dapper Tux made a recommendation. Batman Fortress by Gary Whitta. Gary Whitta was the writer of Rogue One, Star Wars Rogue One. Gary Whitta is an excellent writer, and just like I think every writer out there, all of them want to write a Batman story. So this is a new one that just got released, Batman Fortress. By Gary Whitta. So thank you for Dapper Tux.
Oh, year one was good too. Year one.
Big time.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So for my recommendations, very quickly, Batman White Knight. Just started that one. It's on Comixology. It's on DC Universe. It's by Sean Murphy. I just love his art style. It's so beautiful, so wonderful. But it's really a cool story about how essentially Batman goes too far. And we find out that the Joker actually is the hero of the tale, which is very cool. I like what they're going after for that. Another book that's on Comixology Unlimited, which is an original by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, who did The Court of Owls and Batman, doing their own story. This is called We Have Demons, and it's a very unique story. I like it. It's more fantasy, but I like it, and it's on Comixology Unlimited. So check out that. We Have Demons, and then lastly, this book just came out, She-Hulk 2022. This is a new series with She-Hulk, especially because the series is coming out. Just issue 1 is on Marvel Unlimited. And it's by Rainbow Rowell as the writer and Rogue Antonio. It's very good. And I like it because it's a new take on She-Hulk, especially when She-Hulk has a series coming out. So even that book would be a great primer and starter if you don't know anything about She-Hulk. So it's there.
Cool.
Nice.
Good deal. Rock and roll.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Well, that is it for the show. But before we go, Sean, tell people how they can find you around the interwebs.
Oh, well, thanks for having me on. I never get to talk about comics at all. So it's kind of just nice to explore for a bit. Appreciate you guys very much.
You're in the right corner. Let's make sure it's not another 5 years before we get you back. Good Lord.
Yeah, a couple hundred more episodes.
In another Star Wars film, probably.
Yeah, oh yeah.
People can find me on Twitter and on Twitch at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. And we've got, 40,000 shows, podcasts, and streams and everything going on at youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, including the Xbox Drive, PlayStation Drive, Nintendo Drive, and but just a bunch of shows. So it's been a good ride, man. It's been good.
Content, so much content.
Yep.
I love it.
Yes.
Todd, how about you?
Well, when I'm not listening to the podcasts of Carpool Gaming, which are excellent, there's something for everybody in the world of gaming. Check it out. I am just tweeting out, having a good time, and I'm probably going to ask for more recommendations about comics and things like that, because a lot of things are outside my purview. So I want more of those to read more comics, so I don't, take that opportunity away, because I love comics and I just need to get more of those. But beyond that, I'm gaming, I'm having fun, getting ready to move to our new house. So that's it with me.
And where do they find you, Todd? That was my actual question.
Oh, at Teoxtra on Twitter, yes. And check out our YouTube channel. We have a lot of fun there. This episode will be there, and you get to see our reactions to stupid things that I say.
Fantastic. And you can always find me over on Twitter at the C3, spell it out. I also create a lot of the content you see over on our Secret Friends Unite Facebook community pages. And my lovely wife, April, and I run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is the West Michigan chapter of Starfleet, the international Star Trek fan club out there talking about Trekking. And you can find us on all socials at that name. Friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring. To keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
I feel the need for speed.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.